So, welcome to our Behind the Hub episode, which is going to be about HubSpot CMS versus other platforms. Today, we have Steve, who is a creative director at Syndicate, and Vaughan, who is a CMS consultant at BabelQuest, and I am the head of CMS at BabelQuest. My name is Laura. So BabelQuest and Syndicate have worked together for about 5 years, but the business owners have known each other for a lot longer. We finally decided to make our partnership official. So BabelQuest is an elite HubSpot partner, and Syndicate is a brand and design agency with a BAFTA award. Our partnership brings together the industry's top technical and creative experts, the best in the business, working under one roof. We're obviously biased towards HubSpot, which is the only platform we build our websites on with Syndicate. But Steve brings a balanced view, and Syndicate aren't HubSpot exclusive, but they actually have built more websites off it than on it. Vaughan has been working across all of the HubSpot hubs for a good few years now, but he previously worked in a WordPress agency and has user experience with other platforms too. So to start our conversation today, Steve, can you tell us about your first website that you designed and were involved in kind of potentially the build?
Wow. My first website. I don't think I ever really built a first website, but if we go back to early days, I would probably say using a technology called Flash, which is quite hilarious because back in the day, we could just do whiz bang things, do whatever we want creatively. So I did a project for a Radio 1 DJ called Chris Moyles. So yeah, I did Moyles' website, and it had loads of animations and movement. It was really good fun. Didn't last very long. And then obviously Flash got killed. But that was quite a while ago. So I'd say that was one of my first ones. It was a beaut.
Just picturing that old Flash kind of money off sort of.
Oh yeah. I didn't have any money off, but yeah, there was definitely lots of movement. But yeah, it was fun.
Oh, thank you. And then so Vaughan and Steve, can you name some of the other platforms that are currently, that people currently use, like what's trendy?
They're popular out there, yeah. And I suppose we're going to largely focus on B2B in our conversation today. We may touch on some B2C, but you've got to start with WordPress because there are just millions and millions and millions of WordPress websites out there. Open source, one of the key ones. I suppose the ones that I've come across most that other people use, particularly in the sort of slightly larger business end, is things like Joomla and Drupal and Magento, I guess, would be where I'd start. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think you're right. In a B2B place, I'd probably, WordPress is hard not to go up against, really, because it's just a numbers game that they sort of have won in the past. Hence why I think we're moving lots of WordPress to HubSpot. I think there's a lot of work from our perspective. It's that making that move. From a B2B perspective, definitely. I mean, there's other platforms there's Umbraco, Webflow. Obviously, we talk about trendy things, and Webflow is definitely an on-trend thing. But I'm potentially in the B2B space is not huge at the moment. I think great little platform, really, really good. Squarespace, can be used across many different styles. They're all, but in very on trend. But yeah, I mean, you widen things open even further. Then arguably, you look at probably like some headless CMSs, and there's a fair few of them. If you're trying to produce content across and push content to apps in different places, then you probably want to use something that's more headless based. I mean, we've done quite a few things in the past where it's actually to multi different spaces, whether it's apps, websites, different channels, news channels, etc. So. But I think the main ones, I think, Vaughan, you're right. I mean, it's the biggie is still WordPress, the Joomlas, the Magentos, etc. We're sort of old school Kensco to a certain extent. So we were using Kensco for a little while, but it didn't have anywhere near the numbers of WordPress. but is also real. There's lots of any of the ones you've listed. These are sort of the more B2B focused ones. There's the enterprise ones that's almost like a higher level, but I think these are the ones where we have more visibility of.
Yeah, and I was going to categorize them as well. Is largely we're still in this area where we've got the open source ones, haven't we? Like WordPress is. In other words, you're not actually paying for the software as such. You're actually, if anything, all you're really paying for is the hosting of it rather than the software itself. But then you've got the proprietary ones, and by proprietary I just mean that they're commercially owned by a company, and then you pay fees. And I think the other distinction, isn't it now, which is increasingly that you've got the old websites, which are the ones that you build and host on a server on a bit of tin somewhere, and you've now got the ones that you buy per month, and you don't actually know where they are because they're a service. Of course, with HubSpot, that is a service, not a bit of software.
Yeah, and also the hassle-free service. I think. Just like to have, people always love the fact that WordPress free, and Braco free, but there's free to an extent, not all the way free, but there's the management of the security, the servers, the updates. Yeah. So we look at it as an overall cost of ownership, and bizarrely, overall cost of ownership. I mean, I want to HubSpot. This is HubSpot cool, and I've got to be honest. Hence why probably most of our projects now are moving towards HubSpot. Is overall cost of ownership for me and my clients at Syndicate and also BabelQuest. It's actually an easier platform to use, and from a cost perspective, it actually starts to make sense pretty quickly that it's the right platform. You put it up against a WordPress, but it's just like, to maintain that, the maintenance alone is significant. Security maintenance, that for, and as an agency owner, the hassle-free element of using HubSpot is where we win. But there's some great platforms out there. I mean, any of them in their own right are really, really strong, and with the right development team are amazing. So, but for me, cost of ownership is where things are at, really.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what makes a great website platform?
Well, I'll start off from my background's very much marketing, so my comments are probably going to reflect more of a comment from a typical marketing user of a website, and I'd start off with got to be user friendly, because the number of clients we've had to move because they just can't actually update their website, either because they don't know, it's so difficult, or they're locked out of it or whatever. So I think the first one's got to be user friendly, being able to drag and drop content, being able to easily get in and touch and edit something has got to be where I start. And then I'll pick up from what Steve said, is that I just don't want to know about where it's hosted, what software it's sitting on, why it's been hacked, is it secure, is it insecure? I'm a marketing person. I just want to use the system, and I don't want to have to be thinking about all of the bits and pieces in the background.
Sorry to interrupt there, Vaughan. The first one you talked about being user friendly. What we tend to see is that there's marketing departments are always bringing on new people, and the speed of adoption is really, really important. So to be able to train someone, if they've used HubSpot in any way, if they've used HubSpot CRM, it's like, the UI is so familiar across all these platforms, or across everything HubSpot. As soon as you've been trained on one element, it's so intuitive that it's so easy to just go, right, I understand that. So to be able to train a new client on how to use CMS, just like, actually, guys, I sort of know it, I get it. I've used the UI already, and they're gone. Like this, I think the speed of adoption is really important. Like, bringing on new marketing teams. So that's, sorry to interrupt you there, Vaughan.
Yeah, and the last thing I was going to do from a user point of view is, of course, we want our websites to do everything. So if I want, if I've got some content which is a timeline, I want a module that shows timelines. And if I want to do bookings on an event, I want a booking system. And if I want to do, book me through the calendar, I just want it there, then and now. So I guess that's the other sort of the ability to extend the functionality of the website, so that whatever I think my clients who use my website might actually want and would find useful, I just want it to be there, flick on a switch and get to use it. But what about from a technical side or design side, Steve? What will you be looking for?
I think our development team are quite. They like the developer friendly perspective. The way that the way that they understand, they all understand the API really well, and just the overall structures. The development team are really on board with it, and in fact, there's less requirement for a bigger development team to a certain extent. So sometimes there's a project like this can be done by one developer in some circumstances. Other platforms you might be looking at 2 developers. So we've changed the way we develop things inside HubSpot. I mean that sort of leads on to other things really about the way that API has been updated, or whether there's rollout of new functionality. The betas, anything that comes out on beta is really lovely to get that sort of the really early phases of that. I mean, we're seeing some really interesting beta development things going, and obviously the AI stuff, which is like everyone's dream, and the way that they bring them in gently. I love the way that that release, the beta gets brought out, and it's not as if you need to learn this beta. This is a big change. That's what I do love about it, is the fact that it's really self-explanatory to sort of get on board and understand it. It's really important.
Yep.
I think that
you're going.
Sorry, Ron. Sorry,
I was going to say one of the other things I was just pondering on was, of course, increasingly something that's more important over recent years is I also want I talked about security and not having to worry about hacks, because one of the things you said about total cost of ownership. I mean, if your website's hacked, the cost of coming out of that, repairing your SEO, repairing your platform, it's just horrendous. And but I'm also thinking GDPR and data protection. We've had in the week that we're recording this, there happens to have been some major data breaches in the news. So I guess the other side of it, I am thinking, is my website actually secure? Is any data that I'm collecting from my visitors, is it safe?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, there's definitely a peace of mind, sort of someone's got your back element to the amount of support. I think is really helpful. I mean, going on to that, actually, the support is amazing. So from a dev and user standpoint, then the support behind the background, going straight to HubSpot or to a partner. From our dev team always feel they've got really great support and really, really speedy. There's obviously Slack channels and other things that we can connect. We're sort of connected to, but I think that the community is getting bigger and stronger, and they're a really collaborative community as well. It's not like oh no, you're a different agency, or it definitely is almost like an open book. Just like it's a real happy to share place, which I think is really, really important.
How does that compare to other platform support?
I think, I mean, coming from like a Kentico, which was they're all similar. I think typically I think Slack is sort of open up more channels now. So obviously in the last few years we've become more HubSpot reliant, I guess, to a certain extent. So I guess everyone's now using the newer channels to communicate issues or support or help desk notes and things like that. So I guess they're all
your open source stuff is not, you can't just ring up WordPress. There isn't such a thing,
No.
So in that case, you're having to get your support from possibly your hosting company or the people who built your website for you originally, and as we know, that can be quite patchy in an industry. The platforms that are hosted, trying to keep costs at the lowest means your support isn't so good. But if you've got a website developer who is, their support might be quite expensive after they've built the website. So there is a pattern you've got to be a bit careful of there.
I mean, we've always got to look back. You've always got to look back at what sort of business needs. Yeah, I think that, and depending on whether small business, big business, big corporates, multinationals, etc. But I think one of the sort of low level sort of things that we all expect now is like the CRM to be linked in a really, really efficient way. The amount of times, over the years, we will be connecting different. Every business has a different CRM. It's like, oh, we want to connect this, want to connect that. So you have to change things, APIs, connections, making sure that connection doesn't change, swap out, someone changes an API key. We've all had it. We've all had, oh, for some reason the forms aren't working. It's because someone's changed the settings inside your CRM. Or so that's a really this is what we love, I think, about HubSpot, the fact that all the tracking, the automation, it's because it's all in one place piece. Linking CRM is just like, that's already done. There's lots of functionality that is so well provided, and that's what you get from a system like this, which I think is probably more a higher level, what you normally expect from a higher level sort of piece of kit, really.
Yeah, I think one last thing, we probably need to move on, but I think one last thing as I think about the different systems and platforms is you've got one that once you've built your website, it's almost the moment after it starts declining and it starts dating. So you've built it, but the next day one of the plugins is out of date. Then you need to update your PHP, and then you need to do this and you need to do that, and then eventually you've got to upgrade your WordPress version, and you hope it's not going to break everything. And so there's that declining thing. What I love about HubSpot's service approach to it is I go in one day and there's something new. And I never have to worry about the declining bit because they're looking after all of that. But I'm also getting new things all the time. So, example would be the new content generator using the AI. I can go into my blog and say, I want to write something on this. Can you give me 5 headings that would cover this subject area? Those sorts of things. It's just developing, and it's getting better and bigger all the time. And I just think that's such a big contrast to the sort of older static websites that decline.
Yeah, no, so that's a really valid point. I think one of the key elements, I mean, it depends on what platforms you're using to analyze your data. I mean, there's always a new one. Even the one I sent over to you earlier today, there's always something, especially it feels like we're in a world of AI where there's like another platform that I get announced to every day. Trying to keep up with that's a bit of a challenge, I think. But I think also what I do like about the platform itself from a HubSpot specific perspective is being able to just analyze data in one lump. You might want to dig a bit deeper. So you look inside HubSpot, it's okay, this page is really well performing, but it's like you might need to dig it deeper and you'll use other platforms. But from that higher level, you really get, how many leads have been generated from this. It's really, really slick from that perspective. And to try and get that from one platform, you can't do that from a WordPress perspective. You'd be using multi-platform, so that's why I come back to the ROI on this is the fact that you will be going across many different platforms and you will learn to invest in those. What's quite nice is that from a high level, the most important one is how many leads did this generate this week or this month. At least that's there, it's available, and it's available to the whole team really quickly. Good
one.
Okay,
where are we going, Laura?
So we talked quite a lot about like kind of good platforms there, and specifically kind of HubSpot a lot. So what do you think makes a bad website platform, or even you, Steve, a bad website?
I feel like I need to bring in an old Trello board and just like there's developers moaning about certain things. This doesn't work, or this is broken. All those pain points you have as an agency owner of everyone sort of saying, "Oh, that's not working there now because something has changed." It's just you end up doing. There's just so many fixes. So things that are broken or connections that have changed. I think that's the biggie, and the most difficult thing to cost up as well to a certain extent. It's just like, oh, that's broken. Oh, well, should you have not fixed that? Well, actually, it's not our fault. It's actually something that's been developed by someone else that needs to communicate that. So I think that, I think that's from my perspective, the most painful is sort of things breaking or sort of code changes that you didn't expect. I think that's the tricky one.
I think from a marketing point of view, I'd probably bring in some of the platforms to me are over reliant on sort of readily prepared templates, and you've almost got to use something that somebody else is going to be using or has used 100 times before, and I just sometimes I look at a website and think, I bet you that's a whatever platform, because everything seems to be so similar and so sort of just the same. And I don't, we talked
my pet hate,
I think
it's my pet hate is the fact that looking at a platform when you see that you can almost see that someone's used the same theme. I do find it frustrating that it lacks creativity. I mean, we are a creative focused agency, so we sort of thrive ourselves in making sure that we're pushing creative marketing, visual language, style, brand. There's nothing worse than someone puts you up against someone else and so, well, we've just rolled this theme out, doesn't it look pretty? Well, but 1,500 other people have used that theme. Let's push creative. So I think that's a really valid point. There's nothing worse than sort of someone just thinking, turn it on. I mean, you can do it. Small business can do it, but if you're a significant business that wants to show a difference, I think that's where you need to develop a super amazing theme.
And I think I'd bring in on the technical side. I'd bring in platforms that seem to be so technical that you need your IT team involved, and who of us, if we were a high street retailer, would give the shop front display to the IT department? You don't. It's got to belong to the marketing function, and they've got to be accountable for the delivery of the website, and to then have to be completely reliant on an in-house technical team to get a website up. I just think that those days are past.
Yeah, that also moves on to the security aspect of things, sort of seeing an SSL expire versus not having to even really worry about that SSL is a bit of a delight, because that can, as soon as that drops, then you're in real problems if you're not keeping up to date. Because all these little management things, isn't it? All these little elements that you typically would have had to use sort of in old school money, you'd say you need to sort the SSLA, you need to sort that sort of patches, blah blah blah. That is almost like a lightened load, which I think is really important, because even though at agency level it affects us, but it also then affects client level, because obviously some of these things are passed on.
And I think the other one I wanted to mention, probably again, probably need to move on, but I think that going back to that out of date nature, just the worry about having to keep things up to date all the time. A bad platform to me is one that just needs constant maintenance and constant updating, and just to keep it running, and I don't think that's good. And I go back with my marketing hat on, and I referred to it earlier, we just have had clients with systems that they just don't seem to be able to edit very easily, and so the minute they think about changing even a word, you can see their heart sinks that I'm going to have to go and wrestle with that platform and find where that word is, and I've got to work out how to change it and save it without destroying the rest of the website. And as I say, I think fortunately platforms are a lot better than that in terms of user interfaces these days, but I still think I see with my clients sometimes that fear of touching a platform, and that we shouldn't be living in that sort of age.
So why, Vaughan, have we selected HubSpot CMS as our chosen platform, and why should that matter to our clients?
Well, of course, we've come into the HubSpot CMS because we've been working as a HubSpot partner in starting off in the days where there was just a marketing hub 10 plus years ago. And so we've naturally come to use all of the different functionality that HubSpot has, whether it's in sales, whether it's in operations, whether it's in services, but also in websites with CMS. And I suppose, the reason why I feel so strongly about putting forward the CMS to clients is just that whole integration piece. Even even if you just come to HubSpot for a website, you'll still get the CRM free as part of that, and a place to hold all of your contact information on all of those analytics that Steve's mentioned before, everything in one place. But again, particularly for the marketer, I'm talking about giving them a platform where the website and your social media posting and your email and everything is just completely integrated into one platform. So the CMS is part and parcel, and not an add-on to something else. And I think one of the great things that I've been always waiting for in the website world that CMS can deliver, and we talked a little bit about this with Luke in his Behind the Hub session, so go and listen to that, is personalization. Because I think once you build your CMS on top of your CRM, not only will all of the information about what's happening in the website flow into the CRM, but more importantly, it flows backwards, and that I can start to represent dynamic website pages which take into account the CRM details. So whether it's a customer, I'm going to show them information about upselling, using more of our services, delight type of stuff. Whereas if I know it's a prospect and I don't have a relationship with them, I'm presenting them information about who we are and our proposition, and trying to help them answer their questions. So for me, those are the sorts of key reasons why we put forward CMS as a platform.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that moving on from that, obviously you've got measurability, KPIs, and that overall understanding. But from if we look at it from a purely a sort of design and creativity and brand messaging perspective, I think that what BabelQuest and Syndicate have produced is a pretty solid. I'm going to use the word theme. I don't like the word theme, because I always think if a theme is something you throw into a website, you change your copy, your job done. There's the colours, and it's all complete. So our overall sort of brand thinking and ideas is the fact that we should always strive to be pushing brand style, visual language further and further. So you do get something that's slightly more bespoke. And I think that we've created almost like this joint theme between BabelQuest and Syndicate, where it's a really great base to start from. It's by no means a base that you change colours and just move forward with in that same style. So I think that the overall design process is really well aligned. Is really well aligned using HubSpot. We're at a stage now where actually we almost using the wireframing. We almost use HubSpot as our initial wireframing tool, actually, which is a great way of introducing the client to the platform. So to start off with, we'll expose them to our theme and say, okay, here's the theme. Let's go and let's start building today. We could be really, really quite quick in using our base theme. Sorry to use the word again. To effectively build out those pages. So working on that sort of the user flow together with the client to actually sort of understand how we can sort of express this and get those sort of meet those KPIs based on that sort of overall user experience. So we use our theme really early stages, and then we're discussing. We can break down that brand conversation and sort of the marketing messages, etc., that are added to that. So I think that what we love about it is the fact that we can expose that theme really early on and then make things a lot more bespoke. So we sort of thrive ourselves on the fact that we almost wouldn't want the client to think, oh, well, that's based on X theme, which as a creative, we probably find that more offending than anything else in the world, is the fact that you can recognize something. So yeah, I think that's really important to us, and that's where I think that HubSpot is really working well for us, and the fact we can keep creativity inside the platform. There's not really, apart from any sort of crazy page transitions and sort of some real high level crazy creative, it can do pretty much anything. There's not really any barriers to creativity, which is what we love about it. Going back to the old school 30 years ago, using Flash, creativity is important to us. So that's what I think is really, really powerful, really important. And we're continuing to develop our own sort of basis, our boilerplate So if anything new, vibrant is coming out, we've got a team of people that are constantly looking for these new sort of innovative sort of user experience or UI to bring that through into our boilerplate. So effectively, it's almost like a shared space for a lot of our clients to sort of get on board with something that's new and fresh that's out there. That's not like a standard, this is a 1, this is a 3, that sort of banded feel that we get from things. I mean, other than that, so, I mean, we have a specific process. I can talk you through that on a call if you like. But I think other things that we find is really, really powerful when it comes to HubSpot CMS is some of the other sort of key functionalities, if you like. When we've done quite a few multilingual sites, so sort of corporate sites, European wide, worldwide, and having the way that they manage multilingual is really well structured for Google. It's really easy to use inside the CMS. The way that, I mean, they do change regularly. The way that you can filter, the way you view content inside the CMS is really beautiful and elegant. So I think that the management of a multilingual site makes huge sense for a user internally, so a marketing person can understand it. Most importantly, it's really well structured for Google, which is obviously mega high priority. Other things that are available out of the box, really. So the membership sites, if it's for HR, recruitment, employee websites, I think that it's a really, you can go other places to go and get this functionality. So you can plug something else in. But what's great here is the fact that it's available to you inside the platform. You haven't got to then go and integrate it, rebrand it, style it. It's actually, some of these tools are available straight away. The knowledge base, fantastic. The import tool is a blinder. I mean, we talk about import tools, I get quite excited because sorry, might get very excited. But when you talk about some of the import tools, the blog import tools is an absolute beaut. Yeah. And that's not just a WordPress import tool. We've tried it on quite a few different import tools now, and the way you can align it, even a non-technical person like myself, I have a little bit of technical knowledge. I can go quite easily be importing some great content from my existing site, 500 blogs, 2,000 blogs, whatever it is, being able to import that really, really easily and align that, adding content to sites and moving things over. It's a 2 or 3 or 4 month process, and it makes it really easy. And I love that. It's nothing better than saying to a client, well, actually, we've imported all your blogs, they're all there, and here's the new design. It's fantastic. I love that. It's one of my favorite pieces. Same again, really. Other things I could probably talk to you about here, but I could be waffling for many hours. Shopify integration, BigCommerce integration. So obviously HubSpot don't have an e-commerce platform right now out of the box. I'm not saying watch this space, but I think that we have integrated with Shopify successfully. And the way that the native tool works is elegant, it's smooth, it's clever, it's got all the things you'd expect and more, actually. So yeah, that's fantastic. HubSpot Marketplace, great little tool. Want to integrate with another HR system if you need to. Good chances there's a tool that's been developed out there inside the marketplace. If more often than not, it's there. And there's not really a requirement for using Zapier or any of those connector tools. The marketplace is a good place to start and thoroughly test again before you go down a bespoke route, which is also there's the option to go down that route. I can't think of anything. I'm trying to think if try and answer that one.
I think what it highlights the combinations of what we've put in that is that I think there's a sort of strapline HubSpot use about how it's good for business users, and it's very easy to use for developers. I think hopefully we get something of that over in what we've been talking about in terms of why we've chosen a platform that we think is good for both users and all the functionality it has, and it's also good for developers in the way we can structure it and the way we can build sites easily and quickly. So good. I think that gets that over well.
Yeah.
So what do you both think the future of CMS is and websites? So design-wise, development, SEO.
Well, I wouldn't say much because again we covered it quite a bit with Luke, and again listen to that Behind the Hub with Luke Summerfield. But I think I'd just restate that AI is bringing in things like content creation into CMS, so the ability to build the content, which is the all important element of CMS, is going to be easier. And I just think that whole the user interface, the smoothness of being able to to maintain and to build websites is going to be really quite exciting. But what about the design and the build side, Steve?
We always look at it from if you as a creative, you always start, what are the limitations, and I think that and exposure. Yeah. So if you just think about exposure, then I think that in performance, I think one of the main things is just like some sites can hold some pretty heavy data and sort of in bad code. Yeah, I'll talk techie for a little bit if you like. But for me, quite exciting. There is a beta actually using React. So React is a Facebook developed language, of which there is a beta out currently for HubSpot, and the development team are all over it. In fact, we've already started our new version of our boilerplate, our joint project. We've already started working on developing that. And one of a few reasons why really actually is just like overall performance. So me, Google page speed, performance, it's going to be faster, lighter weight, and more powerful. So really, really excited about the new React opportunity that is currently in beta. It's in beta, and I'm pretty confident before we know it, it'll be live. That's what's great about the way that HubSpot develop things. They're pretty, they're on it and they move quickly. But the other great thing about using React, obviously, it gives us more creativity. So when you're talking to big brands about, we'd like to do this and this and that, in some CMSs, actually, it's not quite possible. We can't do that type of thing. But using React actually just gives us more opportunity to sort of be more creative. Where we can actually we can supply, we can help that marketing person to give the right message, the right visual language, the feel. So yeah, we're really excited about HubSpot moving in that direction. I think that from a CMS, from a real hardcore sort of CMS development perspective, we're really excited about it because it gives us more flexibility to make our sites more innovative and more accessible to Google and overall page speed. I think it's so important to us. Where is design going? Crikey, I mean, that's a whole new world. And I think that's a different interview, I think. But yeah, it's really, I think overall really an exciting time with the mixture of AI and React coming in, and looking forward to September and to see what else is being released, if you like. I think the next month's gonna be an exciting one. I'm not sure, Vaughan, if you've got any insight there.
No insight. So if I did, I'd have to kill you all, obviously.
Yeah, that's
but
fair enough, yeah.
I think what I take heart of in terms of the mix of development, both at the user end and the developer end, is really, you said that the website you hate the most is when it looks just like everything else. And I think the tools that we're developing and that we've actually got hold of now in the HubSpot CMS, we really can start to make websites that are individual to the client's needs.
Yeah, and I think also kind of the integrations between things like Figma and HubSpot and our boilerplate helps us then spend our time on being more creative than doing the admin of setting up the theme individually. So I think that would be quite helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, without going into ultra process, our creative process, design process, there is some really fun stuff going on in the Figma translating Figma, being more efficient. So being more efficient for us means that it opens up more creativity. So being able to spend the client's budget in a more effective way, because actually we've already got a tool that does that, and it's not all AI, but there's efficiencies that we're gaining from great tech, and that's why we've got a really lovely connector between Figma and in HubSpot that's making us it means we can be more creative, which is what clients and brands that we speak to thrive towards, really. So yeah, really fab place.
Good.
So Steve, to put you on the spot, do you think there is a current trend in design wise? What's your current trend?
I'm not going to let you know those. You can have a work. I'll give you a workshop, and I'll let you experience that.
Simplicity is
I'm
common, Steve. Simplicity is common. A common request from clients, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've got some. Yeah, it's user centric. It's, you know, there is that word of simplicity, but it's, you know, sometimes some of our journeys are overcomplicated and for no real apparent reason. But data drives that. So data tells us whether things are right or wrong, or, you know, I mean, our GDD program probably supports that, and the fact that you analyze things, you learn, you develop, you're constantly evolving that sort of user experience based on the data that HubSpot's throwing at you, really. So I think that if you're not doing that, then you're a little way behind. But that's really our focus. But, you know, simplicity, yes, but I don't think, you know, we don't really expect many users to be you know, old school. We expect many users to be reading loads of content. I mean, realistically now, you know, we're producing more video, and, you know, just the experiences changes. You know, we all know that the users don't stay on sites for years and years. They're there. They want to get in. They want to get out quickly. We know, you know, there's certain techniques that we need to use and utilize. And I think that, you know, people don't have time. We're very time poor, unfortunately. So it's just how we can try and help that user convert really quickly and effectively. Is our focus. And yeah, you're right. It comes back to simplicity more often than not, because I don't overly complicate the process, but do it in a beautiful way, which is, yeah.
Good.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. Hope you both
Sorry?
enjoyed.